From the John DeVito Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Paranormal Radio with Bob Tresek on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich. So sit back and enjoy Paranormal Radio. And now here he is, the king of the Paranormal Radio, Mr. Bob Tresek.
I'm still the king, huh? You've been doing that king of Paranormal Radio for like the last 3 or 4 shows, so I haven't been demoted to prince yet, so I'm still king of Paranormal Radio. Hello, everyone. It's kind of getting into a rainy afternoon, or a rainy evening, I should say, that we're taping the show at here. Spring afternoon. We finally all made it to spring, got out of the horrible winter that we had, and we all made it to spring. And thank you all for tuning in and listening to Paranormal Radio. Sit back with a cup of coffee or tea or something and listen to some old-fashioned radio here and relax for a little bit. Okay, tonight's show, what I'm going to do tonight is actually what I was going to do last month. We do shows once a month. I do the shows here with John DeVito over here at Windy City Network, Paranormal Radio. And last month, for February, I was going to do a show on Lincoln. But what happened with that show was we had a whole bunch of people. If you listen to that show, I had the people from the Spiritualist Church on, and they had the Echo Voice Box and all that stuff we did with the ghosts and with the supernatural and spiritualism and all that. So we didn't have time to put anything about Lincoln. And so tonight we're going to kind of split the show. Tonight I've got some young guests with us. We haven't had some young people on for a while here. I don't think we've ever had any young people on since I've been doing the show here. I've had them at some of the other stations I worked at, but not here at Windy City. So tonight we're going to do Lincoln. I'm going to talk about Lincoln and give you some of the facts about Lincoln and some stuff like that. More concerned with the paranormal aspects of his life and the psychic and the spiritualist connection to our 16th president. And then we've got a couple of young people with us that are going to play something that we haven't done in a while too, the old game show You Bet Your Life. We've only got 2, so they're going to, actually 2 brothers, so they're going to be playing against each other. We were supposed to get a couple more contestants on, but we had a couple people back out on us. But we're going to do it with the 2 that we've got with us tonight. So I think what we'll do is we'll start first with the game show, and we'll do the You Bet Your Life, which we haven't done in a while. And I would like to introduce my 2 guests that I got for this evening, Mr. Sean Parlin and his brother Kyle Parlin. Hi, Sean.
Hi.
Hi. Now both of you go to the same school. You go to Door Elementary.
Right.
Yeah, and you are in, what grade are you in, Sean?
8th.
You're in 8th grade? Talk into the mic. Talk into it so we can hear you.
8th.
Yeah, there you go. Now we can hear you. Yeah. You're in 8th grade, so you're getting ready to go to high school.
Right.
Last time I saw you, which was a couple of days ago, you had green hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, now the green hair is all gone. What was all that about with the green hair?
It was for a St. Baldrick's, which would raise money for kids with cancer.
So you did that for kids. So what they do, they cut your hair and then they dyed it green?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that was more than just like a little St. Patrick's Day stunt. That was something for worthwhile.
Yes.
So how much money did you end up raising? Did you know how much you raised for?
Not sure.
Or did they tell you?
10,000.
They raised $10,000? Wow. Not you personally. It was like everybody raised $10,000 that did it. Well, that's great. 8th graders that are involved in something like this in a worthwhile cause like that, that's very commendable and very nice. So now you're getting ready to go to high school.
Right.
You ready for high school, or is high school ready for you?
I don't know.
We don't know which way that's going to go, huh?
Nope.
Or now, do you think you'd like to stay in grade school for another year, or no? You're ready to leave.
I'm ready to leave.
You're ready to get out of there. That's enough of that. I had enough of grade school. It's time to go to the big kid stuff. And you are how old now? 13?
Yes.
13 years old. Wow. I can remember 13. It was 100 years ago when I was 13. And then we also have Kyle.
Hi.
Hi, Kyle.
How's it going?
Wonderful for me. Thank you. How about yourself, sir?
Pretty good.
And now how old are you?
I am 10.
You're 10 years
I
old.
had to think about that first.
10 years old. I had to think about 10, too, because it was a long time since I thought about being 10. 10 years old. That's a lovely age to be.
Yeah.
It's a great age for a man of 56 to be 10 years old, huh? To try to go back. But the unfortunate thing is we can't go back. Now, you, sir, you also go to the Door Elementary School.
Yeah.
Who's your teachers over there at Door?
Oh, I have Mr. Keller, Mr. Yadica, Mr. Pearson, and Mr. Maynard.
And we talked about all of them. Okay, so
Yep.
Who's your favorite teacher?
Oh, mine.
Hold it. You're not supposed to say it. You're supposed to say, I like them all equally.
What if you don't?
I'm trying to save you here is what I'm trying to do.
No, it's fine. None of my
You know
teachers.
what's going to happen? If you pick one of them out, when you go back to school, those
No.
other ones that you said, no, they're
They're probably not going to be listening to this. That's the only.
Oh,
thing
we're going to
that
make sure they
matters.
listen to it because we're going to give them a tape. They're
Okay.
going to get tape. They're going to be playing the tape through the whole
Well,
school over the intercom
I
system.
I don't care. I like Mr. Keller better than everyone.
Now, I've met Mr. Keller because a couple times I went to your school and I gave a couple of talks to your class there on some historical things. I think one time on the White House. I think it was World War I. I talked on, and World War II a little bit. Talked
Yeah.
over there with that. So Mr. Keller, I met him. So he's a nice man. I met him. They all seem pretty nice, but I think he's the only one I really talked to over there that I met.
Yeah,
So
he's nice.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's why I like him.
So you're in 5th grade?
Yes.
So you got a little ways to go till you get to 8th.
I have like 3 years.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
2.5.
So you'll be there for a while. And I think I asked you this before. You guys did a show with me before when I was doing
with our friends, yeah.
at WARG Radio. We did the show. Had you guys on for the game show, and I asked you, what did they name it? Door Elementary School. Why is it called Door? And you said because they got a lot of doors.
They do. That is true. They do have a lot of doors.
Wasn't it named after some person named Door?
Yeah, it's a guy named after John. John was the first name, C middle.
John C. Door.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's spelled D-O-R-E, not D-O-O-R, like a door that's open and closed. Yeah. What was his claim to fame? What did he do? Was he a hero of some kind, or?
Never known.
I don't know either. I don't know what he did. Why they would name a school after him. I don't know what he did.
I think it's a mystery.
Unless maybe he just gave money to. We'll have to look him up sometime online or something. See, I should have had that as one of the questions today.
Well,
I should have had that as one of the trivia questions.
Then I would have flunked.
Yeah, well, you would have got that one wrong anyway. Yeah. And Sean, I never did ask you. Who's some of your teachers you got over at Door?
I have Miss O'Shea, Miss Godwin, Miss Byer, and Miss Grikis.
Oh, you got all the women teachers, huh?
Wait, what's the sub for Miss Grikis?
I don't know.
No, you know. What was the old sub?
Mr. Irwin.
How fun was he?
When I was in school, we got along good with the substitute teachers. We almost liked the subs better than we liked the regular teachers. Cause
I do.
Yeah, 'cause the subs kind of let you do what you wanted to do. They didn't really bother you too much. Yeah. Yeah, leave it down like that. That way you'll be able to talk into it. We'll be able to hear you. If you put it up too high, your voice will go over. Even though your voice is kind of carrying pretty good. So.
Yeah.
Now, you are involved very much in gymnastics, aren't you, Kyle?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, you like doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do?
It's fun.
So now, how high do you go in gymnastics? Do you become a black belt, or what do you do?
Oh, yeah, it's kind of like black belt, but black belt would be level 10.
Yeah, well, that's like karate's black belt.
Yeah, black belt would basically be level 10, and then you go on to the high school division. Actually, not the high school, but the level 10 is around college area.
So that would be like college gymnastics. That would be at that high. So now, where are you at? Like, what levels? Where are you?
I'm at 7.
That's pretty good for a 5th grader. You're at the 7th level. That's pretty good. I know you guys do a lot of traveling, because I know your mother and father.
Yeah, we actually.
Judy and Alan, I'm good friends with them, and they always tell me about you guys. I know you guys bum around a lot.
I think last year or the year before that, we went to Las Vegas.
Last year? What about last week? You guys are always gone. I think.
Yeah, last week we actually didn't travel out of the state, but we actually was still in it. But I think this meet, we're going to actually travel out into the state, into Indianapolis.
Yeah. Now, for a while, too, you were doing baseball, too, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm actually skipping this year.
Baseball, you can't do everything. Yeah, and a lot of athletics. Yeah, too many different activities, right? Yeah, if gymnastics is where your heart is at, that's what you got to stick with.
Yep.
Now, Sean, you still stick with the baseball, though. You like baseball.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
and basketball.
Baseball and basketball?
Yes.
What do you like better, base or basketball?
Probably baseball.
It's a tough question.
It kind of is. Now, for me, it would have to be baseball because basketball I was never any good at.
I'm too small.
Yeah, I could never dribble the ball and walk at the same time. But then I have trouble chewing gum and walking at the same time. So that's why I could never.
Everyone's bigger than me.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
Don't feel bad. I was always that way too. I was always the shortest kid in school too. So not to worry. But then sometimes when you're the shortest kid in school, you grow up and you have a radio show. So that's how that works.
Yeah,
Since you can't play baseball, you can't play basketball. You can't, paint. You can't do anything else, so they let you do a radio show.
Too small to paint.
So that's what you do. Yeah. You're too small to paint. You can't reach the high spots with the roller. So
like when you're trying to write something on the math board, you can't reach the top.
that's how it works. Yeah. So they give you other things to do. Everybody finds their niche in life.
Yeah.
Well, good luck to you with your gymnastics. Now it's not little. Is it still Little League that you're in, Sean? Or
yes.
It's still called Little League. Now,
yes.
at what point does this? Now, if you want to stay with baseball and go higher, can you go? Is there something higher than Little League?
I would have to go to high school baseball.
Okay.
And then college.
Oh, okay. So just like going on the regular high school team. So that'll be like next year when you get into high school. You got a school already picked out where you going to high school?
Kennedy.
You're going to go to Kennedy? Okay.
Yes.
Named after who? Now we know John C. Dorr.
Don't
listen to her. Don't listen to your mom. I want to hear this from you. Who's Kennedy?
Quiet.
Who's Kennedy High School named after?
John Fitzgerald Kennedy, which was one of our presidents.
All right, you got it right. That's
Who
it.
was
killed. I should have asked you the presidents for trivia. I was telling you, giving you the categories, and I said presidents was one of them. I thought the questions would be too tough, but you guys know some of that stuff, so.
Yeah, and a fact about John Fitzgerald Kennedy, he was actually assassinated.
He was actually assassinated. There were
When,
four.
like,
you know the four presidents there were. There were four presidents that were assassinated.
Yeah,
You
I know
four?
there's Abraham Lincoln, John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
The other two might be tough for you. The other two.
Sean,
might be
do you
tough.
know the two? Mom, do you know?
The other two is it's James Garfield and William McKinley. So that's kind of tough. Those are the four presidents that were
I
were
thought
shot
it would
and
be
killed.
the ones carved in Mount Rushmore.
Oh, is that why they're carved in Mount Rushmore? Because they were assassinated?
Well, it's only 4. There's 4 heads there, so
You know the heads. You know whose heads are on Mount Rushmore? That's a good
Yeah, I
question.
actually know. I'm pretty sure it's Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. Was it John F. Kennedy?
No, not Kennedy.
No. But
The 3rd president and the 26th
I'm
president.
pretty sure Sean knows those.
The Theodore Roosevelt
Yeah, Theodore
Yeah,
Roosevelt.
that's right.
and Thomas Jefferson.
Dad, you're not supposed to give us the
Yeah,
answer.
there's your 4. You got Washington, Jefferson. Pay no attention to that man standing behind the curtain. He didn't want to come on the radio, so don't listen to him.
Dad, can you go out the building?
Yeah, don't.
You're kind of distracting us.
Yeah, don't listen to him. He didn't want to. He didn't want to. Yeah, he didn't want to come on the. Yes, pay no attention to that man standing behind the curtain there. So what did we say it was? It was George Washington, Thomas Jefferson,
and Abraham Lincoln.
Theodore Roosevelt, and Lincoln.
Yes, I got
Those are the
you
4
right.
Mount Rushmore presidents. Yeah. Okay, you guys pick now. You remember how we worked? You bet your life.
Yeah.
You remember how it
sure.
works?
I
Well,
get the prize.
You get. Well, you're both going to win something. You'll win something on here.
No, Sean
Yeah.
can't have any.
You'll win something. Oh, Sean don't get nothing. What if he wins?
Well, too bad. I take it.
If he wins, you take it.
Yeah.
Well, would you like to? Do you think you'd like to share it?
No.
Would you share it with me?
Yeah.
Well, you'd share it with me, but you won't share it with your own brother.
No.
No. Well, that's mean. Maybe I'll let you win and work real hard winning and doing these questions, and I won't give you anything. How would you like that? Nah.
Nah.
No, I wouldn't do that to you. We're just fooling around, and you wouldn't do that either. I know you share with your brother, so
I might.
we'll do that. Well, anyway, just for the benefit of the listeners, because we haven't done You Bet Your Life on here in a long time,
I got
you get a $20 bank of money. It's imaginary money. We're not playing with real money.
$20.
You get $20. It's imaginary money. Like I said before, we could do this with points too. But I think when you're playing the game, if you say it's money, I think people try a little harder at it because they figure it's money. But you're actually not winning money. It's your points.
You know
but we
that
say
your imagination is the best thing you could have.
it is. Imagination's a great thing.
So imaginary.
Never
money
never
is
stifle your
everything.
imagination, especially when it comes to creative writing and artistic things and that, because that's where.
And money.
Well, yeah, money too with imagination. I like to
Yeah.
imagine. I like to imagine I got a lot of money, but it doesn't work for me.
I want to
So,
buy a Ferrari with my imaginary money.
what's your imagine? Well, you buy an imaginary Ferrari.
Yeah, I could ride
That's how that works.
my Ferrari that looks like for other people that might look like a bicycle.
Well, anyway, Kyle, we're going to give you 20 imaginary dollars to play with, and you bet anywhere from $1 to 20. Now, the higher dollar amount you go, you're going to get tougher questions.
Okay.
You go lower amount, you get easier questions. But the idea is you want to get a higher dollar amount at the end. After 4 questions, you answer 4
Okay,
in a,
so let me do
4 in a
this.
row right. You get 4 questions right, and then we total up your amount, and that's what you got to win. And you're going to try to
Okay.
beat Sean with his score.
He's smarter than
Who wants to go first? You want to go? Well, we're going to ask you Disney
yeah,
questions.
this is easy. I'll go first.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay. All right. How much you want to bet for your first
$10.
dollar amount? You want to go $10?
Yes.
Now remember what I said. You bet a bigger amount, you get tougher questions.
I'm
All
risking it for the biscuit.
All right. Well, we'll give you a $10 question here. We'll give you one. I'm going to give you this one here.
Yeah.
And I'll give you some hints too, because I helped you cheat, so we'll help you out here.
Mom, can you help me cheat too?
Name the Disney Studios' first full-length cartoon feature. Think
Okay.
about it for just a second, and then I'll give you a hint.
Disney Studios.
Yeah, Walt Disney Studios, their first full-length cartoon feature. It had 7 little men in it.
Ooh, I know the Sleeping Beauty.
No,
No, Snow White.
We're gonna give you another
No,
guess. Which one do you want to say, Snow White or Sleeping
Let
Beauty?
me think. Snow White.
Snow White. You're absolutely right. It was Snow White. So you got $10 on that one, even though we cheated on
Thank
this.
you, Mom.
So he's got what's he got?
I got
$30.
$30.
$30.
Yeah, Sean.
That was good. Now you got to get 3 more questions right. How much you want to go for the next one?
I want to take a smaller one and go with 5.
You want to go $5 for your next one?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I want you guys. I want my mom and dad to be quiet this time.
Okay. This one is going to come.
I'm using my brain.
Okay. This one's going to. You went to Disney World, haven't you? In Disney or Disneyland
Yeah.
or Disney World? Did you go to Florida or did you go to California?
We actually went to Florida.
You went to Florida. Okay, so they have
says
they
it's
have
better than
they have this.
California.
They have it in both. They have this in Disney World and in Disneyland in Florida and California. They got it both.
Okay.
Name the Disney ride, the Disney attraction that is haunted by 999 ghosts.
Is this a question?
Yeah, that's the question.
Okay.
Think of a haunted
I know.
attraction.
Haunted Mansion.
What is it?
Haunted Mansion.
The Haunted Mansion. You're absolutely right. That was good for $5. So he's got $35. You got to get 2 more questions.
I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit again and go at 10.
You want to go $10 again? Okay. Okay. This is going to be. This might be something you know. You remember? Did you see The Little Mermaid?
Yes.
You did?
I
Okay.
love that show.
Well, I'm not going to ask you that question. Did you see The Lion King?
Yes.
I'm not going to ask you that question.
Please.
Did you see the Song of the South?
No.
I'm asking you that question.
Can we do the Lion
No,
King?
I'm going to give you this one here. We're
No,
going to give you
Lion
this
King,
one.
Lion King.
We're going to give you this here. How much did you say you betting on this one?
10.
You want to go $10 for
Lion
this
King,
question?
Lion
Okay.
King.
Okay.
Lion King, Lion King.
In what Disney film do you find the characters Scuttle, Sebastian, and Flounder?
I know.
Scuttle, Sebastian, and Flounder. They're in the sea.
Little Mermaid.
The Little Mermaid. You're absolutely right. It's the Little Mermaid. This is just all too easy.
I'm good at Disney.
Okay, you need one more. One more question. Then you got your 4, and then we're going to total up your amount.
You have 45 right
Should
now.
I go for it?
And you got $45.
45 right now.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
What if I get it wrong? Does it subtract?
If you get
Yes.
if you get it wrong, what we do is we subtract, and then you lose a question. You got to so you're down 2 questions, and we have to ask you 2 more questions.
Oh gosh. I'm gonna risk it and go 20.
You're going to go the full $20.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, his strategy is a little different. He's trying. His mom and dad are yelling at him, "Don't go so
Yeah,
high."
Dad, don't
his strategy
yell
is
at
different.
me.
What he's trying to do. This is his last chance to score to get a higher score. So he's trying to go for broke and try to get the highest score that he can.
I'm a
So let me
pro.
see what we got here for a $20 question.
Lion King.
Let's see. Mhm. Okay. Did you see the Disney movie The Princess and the Frog?
I don't think so.
You didn't see Princess and the Frog? Well, then that might be too tough for you. We won't ask you that. If you didn't see the movie, you will not know.
Can we do Lion King?
Okay, let's do. Oh, here we go. This is a Disney question. Remember. Well, I can't tell you that because I'm telling you the answer. Okay, this is for $20, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In what Disney movie do you find the characters Cogsworth, Mrs. Potts, and Chip? And Lumiere, who was the candlestick?
Beauty and the Beast.
You sure?
Yes.
You know they told you the wrong answer. It's not Beauty. Nah, it's Beauty and the Beast. I just wanted to
Yes!
see. I just wanted to see their faces all drop because they're giving you the answers here. Beauty and the Beast. You're absolutely right.
Once you
And
told me
s-
the candle, I knew it.
And you scored.
Once you told me the
You scored
count.
$65. Yay for you. That was good. That's a high score.
That's a cheat.
You scored $65, and you do win some stuff. You know
Getting
how that
helped
goes.
by
We always give
people.
you. Yeah, we always give you something. So you get Necco wafers,
Oh.
Not
Neckos?
bad. Not bad.
and you get no good for Neckos.
Oh,
How about Lifesaver hard candies? Better.
Yeah.
Better. Okay, you get Lifesaver hard candies, and you get Necco wafers.
Thank you.
And thank you for playing. Now you're still in the running though, because if he scores lower than you do,
I
which
get
we don't
hit.
know how up Sean is on his Disney stuff. So if he gets less than you do, you can go on and you can get the bonus question. You can get something else. If not, then he'll get the bonus question. So we'll see how it works. Okay, thank you for playing You Bet Your Life. Like I said, you're
Thank
still in
you.
you're still in the running here. So don't go and hide and sleep under the table on us or anything.
Sean,
Here, 'cause
don't
you're still
crack.
in the game.
Remember that. Don't crack, Sean.
Mr. Sean,
Yes.
welcome to You Bet Your Life, sir.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Now, you know the rules, right? You get the $20 bank. You ask the lower dollar amount, you get easier questions. Higher dollar amount, you get harder questions. 4 in a row right, we tally up your score, and you've got a tough customer to beat here because he got $65.
Yeah, Sean.
That's a pretty high score. Okay, so you know how the rules work. What do you want to bet for your first question? How much you want to go? And you got the same category. You got Disney. We're going to give you
Okay,
Disney
I'll go
questions.
5.
You want to go $5? Okay. All right.
You have to go
Let's
higher
see.
to beat 'em.
Let's see here. This one, I don't know if you're going to know that or not, but we'll help you out with it a little bit if you don't get this one. Because that might be something that might have been before you were around. You may not remember. Okay. Name the Disney TV show featuring a talented cast of singing, dancing, all-American kids. All-American Disney kids. What was the show called? It was named after a Disney character.
Mickey Mouse Club.
The Mickey Mouse Club. Absolutely right. It was called the Mickey Mouse Club. They actually had an old one a long time ago when I was a little kid, and then they did a remake of it. The remake of the Disney Club, when they brought it back, they had Britney Spears was a Disney kid, and who was the guy that was the werewolf in those Twilight? Oh, Taylor Lautner. He was one of the Disney kids too. He was a Disney kid in the new version of it. Okay, so you got, how much did he bet on that one? $5?
Yes.
So you got $25. So far you're still good. And you got to get 3 more questions right. How much you want? Now, if you're going to try to go on for the bonus thing, you're going to have to beat 65, and you're going to have to do that in 3 more questions.
I'll go 10.
You want to go $10? Okay. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Do you know what the Oscars are, or the Academy Awards?
Yes.
Okay, this is going to be, you know it or you don't. It's true or false. True or false? Walt Disney, that's the man, that's Walt Disney himself that created Disney World and Walt Disney Kingdom and everything.
Read many
Disney
Academies.
films. Yeah. True or false? Walt Disney received 7 small Academy Awards for the movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. True or false?
True.
You're right. He did. He actually got that. Thanks, Dad, for telling him. Yeah.
You didn't tell me.
Nobody told him.
Yeah, Dad.
Nobody told
Yeah,
him.
Dad.
Okay, and he did. What did he do on that one? 10.
Yes.
So you got $35. 35, and you're gonna try to get to tie. If you tie, then we do a tiebreaker. But you want to beat him. Now you can bet like. You don't have to do like all even. Don't have to be 5, 10. It can be like 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever. It can be uneven numbers, right? Just so you beat him. If you want to beat him. If not, he'll beat and he'll go on to the bonus. So how much you want to go for your next one? You need 2 more questions.
I'll go 15.
$15? Okay, 2 more questions. Okay. You've been to Disney World.
Yes.
Okay. In what Disney featured attraction do you find yourself an enchanted tiki room with singing birds?
Oh.
You find yourself in an enchanted room with singing birds, singing tropical birds.
The Enchanted Tiki Room, because
Absolutely right. It's the
Really,
see. He was telling you the wrong answer. He was telling you the tiki hut. It's the enchanted tiki room. Yep, that's absolutely it. That's what it is. Okie doke. You got $50. What do you want to go? You got
Go
what?
for
You
it, go
just
for
need one
15.
more.
I'll go for 20.
You want
Oh
to go
my
$20?
God, no.
Okay, 20. You're gonna
You
try to
guys
beat him.
Be quiet.
Okay. Okie doke. Let's see here. That might be a tough one. I don't know if you get that one because that's from an older film. Let's see here.
Which one is it?
Let me ask you. Let's see.
I'm going to beat you.
No, you're not.
We did that one about the Disney show. Let's do. Okay, let's see here. Oh, this is kind of an easy one. You just got to think about it for a second. And it's a one-word answer.
Oh my gosh.
How many United States presidents are included in the Disney theme park attraction, the Hall of Presidents? It's a one-word answer.
30.
There were 44 presidents. So how many of them are included in the Disney attraction, the Hall of Presidents?
I feel like
44.
You're absolutely right.
Really? You like just
I was
gave
gonna
him
say
the answer.
it's a one word. It's a one word. I was hoping you would just say all of them. All would have been the thing. Yep. So that's it. You scored it. So you got $70. You
Give him
actually.
the answer.
Yeah, you actually. Well, we cheated for you too. We cheated for
Yeah.
you too. We do that. We do that for the kids because we want the kids to win.
Honestly,
We have no winners on this show. We have all or no losers. I say. We have
Yeah.
all winners. Well, when you see the stuff
Come
I give
on,
you, you're not
Kyle.
really winners either. So.
Okay, bonus round.
You want to do the bonus round?
Can
Now
I do
you
it?
get the same
Can I-
thing he
can I do
got.
it
You
too?
get the same candy he got. You get the Lifesaver hard candies, the Easter ones, and you get the Necco wafer things. Now, if you want to do the bonus question, the way this works is I ask you the question. If you get the question wrong, you give me back the candy.
ooh,
You lose the candy. But if you get it right, you
Yo.
keep your candy and you get something extra. You get something else. So what do you want to do?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
You want to go for it? Okay.
wait,
All right.
question. If he gets it wrong, can I try?
We'll give you a crack at it.
Thank
We'll,
you.
we'll bend the rules a
He'll go
little bit.
first.
That's normally the way we do it. We'll bend the rules a bit. Yeah.
That's all that matters. Is that I go?
Okie doke. And you guys, I think you guys said you didn't see The Princess and the Frog, right? You didn't see
Right.
it?
No.
You did not see it? Okay, so I won't ask you anything about that because you'd be at the disadvantage not having seen it. Let's go with...
I know a little bit of it.
Did you see Sleeping Beauty?
I don't
No.
think so.
No,
I
you
haven't seen
never
it.
saw Sleeping Beauty? It's an older one, too.
I kind of.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Let's try...
Lion King.
Okay, in the Lion King.
Yes.
We'll do the Lion King. What was his girlfriend's name? Nala. No, I just gave you the answer. Nala. Nala was it? Nala. I just gave you the answer. It's
Say
Nala.
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 Say
Yeah.
what the dad's name
Well,
is.
let's try
I know
this
the
one.
dad name.
Let's try this one from the Lion King. What was the evil uncle's name?
I know this. No, Scar.
Well, we didn't ask you.
I wanted to answer though.
Yeah, I'm running out of questions. Now I got to give him another question.
Thanks a lot.
Now I got to give him
It
another
was too
question.
easy.
No, I might not known that.
Okay, what was the monkey's name? The wise old monkey that walked around in the Lion King with the stick. He walked around with the walking stick, the cane. What was his name?
Really, Dad? Really? That's what you call it. That's what I
You're
call it.
freaky.
In video
Well,
games-
you're close, but it's no cigar. But we're going to give it to you. It wasn't Rafiki. It was Rafiki.
Yeah,
I was
Sean.
close.
That's what you
I was
get. That's what you
close.
get for listening to
I
that
was
man
close.
standing behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you
Yeah.
won. We're going to give
Guys,
you the
listen.
thing.
In video games turn, I call that hacking.
You won. And for your efforts, you win. Since it's Easter time, you get a chocolate Easter bunny.
Can I try?
You're going to get one, too. We give you one, too. We don't want to see you lose,
Yeah,
so we
but
give you the chocolate bunny, too.
I already got the answer scar.
So you win.
Can I
Okay,
go
thank
again?
you both for playing.
No,
You Bet
can
Your
I
Life.
go? Can I go one more
Yo.
question?
You want to go another question?
Yeah.
Lion King.
What do you want? You want what,
Yeah,
kind, what kind of question? What kind of question?
Give him a really hard one.
Yeah, I could take.
Why don't you ask me a question? Let me. I've never played this. I'm always the one answering the
I'm
question.
thinking of the. Can I see the book?
Well, if you see the
Okay,
book,
let-
I know what
let-
they are because I wrote all the
Let me
questions.
think.
Who did the voice of Mickey Mouse? Who was the man that
No,
did the voice
no.
of Mickey Mouse? Do you know who it was?
Name all the 7 dwarfs.
I can do
in
that. I can do it. You think I
Which one
can't do
was
that?
No,
Okay, there
in
was
Snow
Kyle.
White.
There was Kyle. There was Sean. There was Alan. There was Judy.
No,
Those are
there
four.
was there was Sleepy. There was Grumpy. Wasn't there?
Oh, you don't know him yourself? You're
Don't
asking me?
ask
You don't
me.
know.
I know more.
Sleepy, Grumpy, Dopey,
Bashful.
Bashful, Dopey, Doc.
Hey, no, Mom, you're supposed to be helping us, not him.
I'm giving you. I'm giving you.
We got them all. Let's try it again.
I want-
Sleepy, Dopey,
Grumpy.
Grumpy, Bashful,
Sure.
Doc. Happy. Did we
Yeah.
say happy?
No.
Who do we miss?
Oh,
Okay.
I think I know
You
him
got
all.
grumpy already.
Sneezy.
Yeah,
Sneezy. You missed
Sneezy.
Sneezy. There's your 7 one. Sneezy.
Okay, can you give me a question now?
You want another question?
He wants a Lion King.
It's for all my
question.
candy.
He wants a Lion King.
Oh, you want a Lion King question?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm good at that. No, I'm going broke.
What actor? This is gonna be tough. You ain't
Oh
gonna get
no,
this.
I don't know actors.
You want the question? I'm gonna give it to you. What actor did the voice of the mature Lion King when he grew up? First he was a little boy, then he grows up, he becomes the adult. When he was an
Okay,
adult, what actor did his voice?
I don't
You
know.
aren't gonna get that in a million years.
Okay, I'm gonna think of a random guess.
It was Matthew Broderick. You probably know who Matthew Broderick is.
I never heard of him.
Yeah.
Can we do a different question based on the movie, not actors of the movie?
Based on the movie?
Not actors.
And on what continent does the Lion King take place?
This is Africa.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It was China.
No, it's
Don't you remember that one sequence in the movie where
Yeah,
they all
sure.
spoke Chinese?
you're
No, I'm
Like,
kidding. It was
hey,
Africa. We're just messing around with you. Okay, that's enough of you. Bet your life.
Yay, I win.
You won. That's it. Oh, so I see. You wanted to make sure you won your candy. That's why you did it. You wanted
Yeah,
to make sure.
I
Okay, I
give
get
it
it.
to me.
You didn't want me to just give it to you. You wanted to make sure you actually
Yeah,
earned it.
I want to earn it.
Okay.
Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. Thank you both for coming on. Thank you. It was
Thank you
Nice having you
very
here.
much.
We haven't had you guys on in a while. I remember when we were doing the show at WARG. I remember you guys came on and played, and we didn't have you on for a
Yeah.
while. So thank you both for coming on.
You're
It's
Thank you.
fun listening to you, and good luck with your baseball. Good luck with your gymnastics, and the best of luck with school. And we hope everything's going well with all of that.
I technically won.
Yeah.
I technically won by 4 cents.
Okie doke. Like I said, I'm going to do some talking about Lincoln. We're going to do some Lincoln talking here, some stuff with
Finally.
Lincoln. And some of the stuff we're going to talk about is going to be some of the paranormal side of his life and the psychic side of his life. Just to give you a little bit of facts, some of this you will know, some you may not know, some you may not want to know. But Abraham Lincoln, as we all know, was born in 1809, born in the frontiers. In those days, the frontier was literally the frontier. Frontier, there was nothing. You'd have maybe a clearing, it'd be like a 5-acre clearing. You'd have a cabin built. That would be your farm, your homestead, and then your next neighbor might be miles and miles away. Lincoln's father, Thomas, would move when he said he could see the smoke from his neighbor's chimney. He said when he could see the smoke from a chimney, it was too close, and he didn't like neighbors that close, so he would move. His father, Thomas, and he was born to Thomas Lincoln, and his mother was Nancy Hanks Lincoln. And, of course, his mother died when he was very young, 9 years old. And Abe's sister, Sarah, was only, I think, about 11 years old. She was. So their mother passed away and died from what they called at that time milk sickness. What happened was cows would eat a thing called milkweed. Cow would eat this, and then a person would go, you'd milk the cow, you drink the milk from the cow, and you would get sick from it. And at that time, there was no cure for it. You got better or you got worse, and that was it. And that's what happened to her. She died from it. So what happened was, of course, they were now motherless. The mother passed away, and we had two young, kids here. We had an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old, and their father, Thomas, left. He just left, picked up and left the two kids there to fend for themselves and take care of the cabin and take care of things. And he went to find himself a new wife, which he did do. Nowadays, this would probably be called child abandonment, but in those days, life on the frontier was tough. So you left an 11-year-old in charge of the whole house and to take care of a 9-year-old. Like I say, today this would be child abandonment, but on the frontier, it was tough. There was a tough life, and that was not too unusual in existence. That happened. So his father did come back with a wife. Oh, we're going to take a break here. I'm going to stop with this, and then we'll continue with the story of Lincoln. We're going to take our break here for just a moment.
You are listening to Paranormal Radio with Bob Tricek from the John DeVito Broadcast Center on Jack FM 89.7 WRHF FM Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Tuesday, March the 31st, the year 2015. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich, Illinois. And now back to Paranormal Radio and Bob Trysick.
Okay, thank you for listening back with us. We're doing, if you missed the first part of the show here, we did You Bet Your Life. We had a game show here with two of our friends to Paranormal Radio, Mr. Sean Parlin and Mr. Kyle Parlin, two brothers. They played the game show with us. And now we're talking about Lincoln. Like I said, I had planned to do the Lincoln show last month, but we didn't get around to that because we had so many guests on last month's show, so we're doing that this month. Where I left off just before the break, where I left off with the story was right where Lincoln's father, Thomas, left. He left the two kids. He left Abe Lincoln, young Abe Lincoln, at 9 years old, and his sister Sarah at age 11. He left them alone in the cabin. He went off to go find himself another wife, which he did do. He finds Sarah Bush, and he marries her. She was a widower, and him, of course, being a widower, rather, I should say, and she was a widow. They married. I don't think it was really a love match. They just kind of were marrying each other more for security of it. She was a widow with 3 children, and he needed a mother for his 2 kids. So they got married, and he brings her back to the cabin in the frontier to keep house and take care of his kids and, run a home and make a family again. That's what they did. Unfortunately for the Lincoln children, she was a very good stepmother. She really loved them, and Lincoln really took a shine to his stepmother, and she took a shine to him. She saw something a little more in him than just being a frontier rail splitter and a farmer and just a poor, sharecropper type thing like his father was. She saw something a little above that because she saw he had an aptitude for learning and reading, and she brought some books with her and stuff to the homestead. And so she encouraged him to get all the learning he could and to do something, and he always attributed his success in life to his stepmother for her encouragements in that. Not so with his father. His father was not a man for book learning. Thomas Lincoln couldn't even sign his name. He just used an X to make his mark on any legal documents or papers he had to sign. And that's the way that life kind of went. Lincoln himself was never really close with his father, but he was very, very close with his stepmother. Very, very close. Years later, when he got elected to the presidency, he went to go see his stepmother before he went to Washington, and she then had told him she felt something would happen to him and she would never see him again. And she was right. Her premonition was right because, as we all know, he was assassinated, so he never did get to see his stepmother again. All right, we'll jump up a little bit into his life now. He gets the encouragement in that. He grows up, becomes a mature man, goes on to do some things on his own. He always had this somewhat of a psychic ability on his own. And for a while he did different jobs, rail splitting he did. He took a flatboat down to New Orleans. That's where he first became acquainted with the evils of slavery. First time he saw the slave markets and things in New Orleans, and he kind of felt that was something he should do about that. Kind of left a sour note in his throat, in his heart. And he always knew that he someday would like to do something about that to kind of abolish that evil, which eventually he did do, as we all know, when he became president. And then he ends up in New Salem, Illinois. New Salem, Illinois was just nothing of a town, a very small little town. They had visions of it becoming a big city, somewhat like Springfield would become, or maybe even Chicago. It was close to the water, close to a riverboat, there and that, so they had that. And they had ambitions for this becoming a thriving community, which it never did do. For a few years there, it was a good community, and Lincoln decided this would be the spot to kind of settle down. He clerked in the store there. He ran the post office there for a while and studied law. Every book he could on law and everything, he studied law as much as he could, read things there and that. He fell in love there with a lady named Anne Rutledge. The Rutledges were kind of a wealthy family in the town of New Salem. They owned a tavern. In those days, a tavern wasn't really a drinking establishment like we think of a tavern now. A tavern was a place for lodgers. It was like a hotel and a place you can go and get a bed and get a meal for the night and stay there. And the Rutledge family owned one of these, and they had some other enterprises and stuff. And Lincoln kind of fell in love with Anne Rutledge. But the sad thing about that was she died. Yeah, she took sick and died, and the romance never carried on. If the couple would have become engaged, they were never formally engaged. Chances are they probably would have, though. And he took this very hard. Very, very hard. He took it really, really hard. It took him a long time to come over this. He went into a real, real deep mourning over this, over the loss of Anne Rutledge, who he most assuredly would have married, and she would have been a great mate for him and would have certainly pushed him on in his career for, to study law and to become into politics and those kind of things, which eventually his wife did, Mary Todd, did do. So anyway, he goes on, studies law, becomes a circuit lawyer. Circuit lawyer, he travels around. He does a lot of traveling on the circuit. You went from town to town, and they defended cases there and heard cases and this kind of stuff. That's what they did, because many of these towns were so small, they didn't have a courthouse and lawyers and a judge right in the town. They traveled, and you would hear cases this way from time to time. And he does this. And then in Springfield, he decides to go to Springfield and settle down in Springfield, and that's where he meets Mary Todd. He meets Mary Todd Lincoln, and Mary Todd saw something again. People that knew Lincoln, especially the women in his life, saw something a little more in him probably than he even saw himself. And there's the famous saying that she said she would marry the man who would become president. And she did. She married Lincoln. They were sort of an odd couple, they couldn't be from more two opposite sides of the fence. Her being from a very, very wealthy Kentucky family. She grew up having everything in life, and Lincoln, of course, being very, very dirt poor and having nothing in life growing up. But nonetheless, the couple played off each other. They became engaged, and Lincoln actually had cold feet on it and second thoughts about it, and actually broke the engagement off. And after he broke the engagement off, he became very, very morose, and friends around him said he went into like a depressed state. All his life, Lincoln kind of fought depression, too. They think he may have had some problems with that, with depression and stuff. All his life he had to fight that. And but eventually they did get re-engaged and married, and that was that. And then they started their family up and everything and started living in Springfield. The couple wound up having four children, 4 sons they had. The only home he ever owned was in Springfield, Illinois. That's where he lived. That home is said to be haunted, not so much by the president himself, but by the spirit of Mary Todd Lincoln and the spirit of the children. Docents and people that take care of the house there and stuff will tell you there's stories of some of the toys and things that are rolling across the floor in the living room, in the front parlor of the house, and they often hear skirts rustling, like a sound of skirts rustling, a dress, rustling of a dress going up and down the staircase, and the sewing machine will sometimes run on its own that's in the house. And that. So there are little things there to kind of indicate that it's Mary Todd's spirits that's there, because in actuality, probably the happiest years of her life were spent in that house in Springfield, outside of the fact that they lost one son there. Of the 4 sons they had, they lost Eddie over in Springfield. Eddie died before he was 4 years of age. First son was Robert, and the next would have been Eddie, and Eddie died at 4 years old. And then they didn't wait too long, and then they had the other 2 sons. They had Willie and Tad right after Eddie's death. So we'll jump up a little bit in Lincoln's life here, and we'll get to his presidency. He goes on, he gets the nomination for the presidency, nominated, goes to Washington. While they're in Washington, of course, we know what happens there. He has the burden of the Civil War, the Emancipation. Very tough presidency he has, very, very tough. The Lincolns in the mid-19th century, along with a lot of people in the country, became very, very involved in the spiritualist movement and in spiritualism. And Mary Todd, in particular, did this. They had lost another son in Washington, Willie. Their 10-year-old son, or 11 years old, I think he was. Willie died in Springfield. The 2 younger boys, Willie and Tad, were out playing in the snow by the White House and took sick. Tad recovered. It was a slow recovery, but Tad did recover and get better, but Willie did not. For whatever reason, Willie didn't get better, and he died. And then spiritualism really, really took over. Mary Todd Lincoln would contact different spiritualists and mediums and stuff, and trying to contact her dead son and this kind of stuff. And a lot of people would attribute this to, a grieving parent, that lost a son, prematurely, lost a child. It wasn't too uncommon, actually, in the 19th century, to lose children this early. And, of course, the Civil War raging like it was, just about every family was losing somebody to the war. So they became very, very involved, and the president, too. Lincoln himself became very, very involved in the spiritualist movement. Seances were held in the White House. A lot of known psychics were brought in to try to contact the spirit of Willie, which they claimed they did. Mary Todd Lincoln claims she spoke with Willie often. She would say that he comes to her, she sees him by her bedside, she talks with him, this kind of stuff like that. So they didn't know to attribute this to, was she actually seeing this, or was she just a grieving parent and this was happening. But Mary Todd also saw other ghosts in the White House, too. White House is kind of famous for its ghosts, and she actually claimed to see the ghost of John Tyler, who is our 11th president, or 10th president. She actually claimed to see his ghost in the Blue Room. And the Blue Room was where he actually proposed to his second wife, and she claimed to see his ghost in the Blue Room. But the trouble with this story is she claimed to see his ghost before he died. So I don't know how she managed that one. She actually saw him. She claimed also to encounter the spirit of Andrew Jackson in the White House, and hear his laughing and hear his cussing. And she actually went so far as to contact the staff and tell the staff to do something about it, because his foul language was disturbing her. So Mary Todd became a very, 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 very involved with the psychic and spiritualist movement. Seances were known to be held in the White House, and during one such seance, a piano actually levitated. And there's a story of the president and a couple of his aides actually getting on top of the piano to lower it back down, to get it to lower back down to the floor and not rock around so much like that. So things were going on like this in the White House with the president's the spiritualist movement, like I said, he became very, very involved in the spiritualist religion, particularly after Willie's death, more so after that. Lincoln himself had a very psychic life. He foresaw his own death. He always felt that when he got to be elected president, he was elected for a purpose, and that purpose would be to end the Civil War and end slavery, and then after that purpose, he would be no more. So he kind of foresaw his own death. There's a famous story, too, of him looking in the mirror and seeing a double image of himself in the mirror, which is not a good omen, and then some of his famous dreams. He had the dream of waking up and hearing crying and mourning going on in the White House, and walking through the halls and walking to the East Room, and there seeing a crowd all dressed in mourning and a coffin laid out with a catalog around it, and him going up to a guard that was around, standing around it, and saying, "Who's dead in the White House?" And they told him the president is. He was killed by an assassin, at which point he would wake up. So he kind of foresaw his own death. Many people felt that. There's even stories, too, on the night of his death, when he left for the theater, he would always say good night to the houseman, that was there, the butler at the door, that kind of stuff. He'd say good night to him. I forget what the man's name was. I think Mackenzie or something. He'd say good night, Mackenzie. But on this point, he said goodbye. And Mackenzie kind of that stuck with him, and he always remembered that. He says, I don't know why he said goodbye and not good night, but he never saw him again. He was killed. So anywho, we're going to jump again up into the story a little bit here, and on the president's death. President, is of course assassinated. We all know how that story went, so I'm not going to relate that story to you. We all know what happened with that. And Lincoln's body, of course, is taken by train to Springfield, Illinois, to be buried. Some of the ghostly happenings also occur with his funeral train. Through the years, many people have claimed that along the route that the train took from Springfield, or I should say from Washington to Springfield, they have at certain points seen the funeral train whisk by, and they say it's accompanied by a very, very loud music, like funeral dirges are played, and it's very, very loud, almost deafening, and the train whisks by, and some people say there are skeletons standing guard over the coffin, and other people say no, there are guards there, but they're ghostly images and that kind of thing. So it has been known to happen, although I don't know of anyone seeing it recently in recent years, but people do show up. We're coming up in April now. Every April 15th on the anniversary of his death, people do show up at the train tracks where Lincoln train went through Chicago, and they show up there, and they claim they do have trouble with their watches stopping and trouble with the electronic equipment and that kind of stuff, some of the psychic connection to him. Lincoln's body, when it was brought to Springfield for burial, had no rest itself, too. Lincoln's body moved quite a lot of times. His body was actually moved 17 different times before finally being buried. This I have to read because I wrote some of this down because it's just a little too much to remember. So May 4th, of course he dies April 15th in Washington. On May 4th, his body finally makes it to Springfield after stopping in towns and cities all along the way for them to pay respects and tributes to the president. And he's buried in Springfield for final burial. So his body arrives at Oak Ridge Cemetery, which was a place he picked out. He and Mary had picked this out when they lived in Springfield. They saw Oak Ridge, and he liked it, and they actually buried their son Eddie there, the first son. And so now his coffin from Washington was accompanied by the son Willie, who died when they were in Washington. So the two Lincoln family members, the president and his son Willie, are being taken to Oak Ridge to be buried with the other son that's buried there too. So there's 3 Lincolns buried there. And he's actually put into a receiving vault. It's a temporary vault kind of thing until a more permanent tomb and a more permanent burial place is made for him. And this is on May 4th, 1865. So December 21st, 1865, the 3 coffins, now this would be the coffin of Eddie, Willie Lincoln, the 2 sons, and the president, are moved to a temporary tomb on the hillside. They move them from the receiving vault, they move them to a temporary tomb, and they rest in here while there's the current tomb that we see now is being built. Okay, September 19th, 1871, the bodies are moved into the catacomb of the current tomb. The tomb's finally built in 1871. It takes them about 5 years to build the tomb, and it's moved into this. And there's a mahogany coffin on Lincoln's that Lincoln's buried in, and they replaced that with one of iron. So it's a replacement of iron one. They want something a little more permanent, a little more strong than just a mahogany box, so they put him in an iron coffin. Okay, October 9th of 1874, 3 years later, he's moved again from the crypt. He's placed inside a marble sarcophagus now. So the iron coffin that he's in is placed inside a marble sarcophagus. It's in the center of the catacomb, so this is a place where people can view it. It's put in there, but the trouble with that is they find out that the iron casket is too large to put into the sarcophagus, so they replace it with one of red cedar. So they move it back into another wooden coffin and then put it into the marble sarcophagus for viewing by the public. Okay, on November 7th of 1876, an attempt is made to kidnap his body for ransom. And the ghouls that do this, they partially disassemble the sarcophagus and slide the coffin halfway out, but the plot's foiled by the kidnappers, and they're caught. They're caught. Actually, what they were doing, they were in a saloon in Chicago. and they were actually talking about doing this. They were going to kidnap the body, steal his body, and hold it for ransom. And actually, some of the men that were sitting in the bar next to them were Pinkerton detectives. They overheard it, so their plot became foiled. They let him get away with it so far, and then they nabbed him at just the right time. However, they did manage to get his coffin halfway out of the sarcophagus and did some damage to it. So that was on November 7th of 1876. November 8th of 1876, marble masons are called in, and they do some repair work to the sarcophagus, which was damaged in the kidnapping attempt. And the coffins are put back in the Lincoln. The Lincoln coffins put back into it. Okay, November 13th, 1876, they feared another attempt. They were kind of getting paranoid now. People that were caretakers of the tomb were getting paranoid of his body being stolen and kidnapped and held for ransom. So they feared another attempt to steal body, so they take it out of the sarcophagus, they cover it up with a blanket, and they move it to the back of the tomb to hide it, and then they rebuild the sarcophagus again. They build it more to make it more permanent and more burglar-proof. Again, they do this. Also at night on November 13th, tomb officials meet in secret and carry the coffin outside. They take it around the back of the tomb and into the inside, and down into a labyrinth, because the tomb has like many different halls and labyrinths and things down in the bottom lower levels of it. And they put it down in with some debris. They cover it up with some boards and some debris that were left by the workmen, and they hide it in there while they're building something a little more permanent and a little more less burglar-proof. Okay, November 14th, same year, 1876 seems to be a year where his body moved around a lot. They build a very crude, kind of a primitive wooden outer coffin to keep his coffin a little more safe and protected, for better protection, while the permanent tomb is being more built, or so they think, permanent tomb. November 18th, the same year, 1876, once again, they're fearing that his body will be stolen, and it's buried in a shallow grave at the far end back of the labyrinth inside the tomb. And it's behind the family crypt. So like where the two sons are buried in the Lincoln family crypt, he's buried around the back and behind that, just to kind of keep it in disguise. November 20th, 1876, in response to another anonymous threat received by the caretaker of the room, once again the coffin's dug up to reassure that it's still there. Also, too, what they were doing this when they opened it up, and they dug it up and they actually opened his coffin, because by this time there's some stories of Lincoln's ghost being seen around the tomb. People claim they go there to visit the tomb, to pay their respects to the president's grave, and they would actually say that they see the ghostly image of Lincoln walking around out there. So to kind of reassure themselves, they actually open his coffin up, look at it, and say, yes, it is indeed the president's body in there, he's in there. So they seal it back up again and put it back in the tomb. Okay, and then we jump up to 1887. April 14th, 1887. Actually, he died on April 15th, so this is close to the anniversary of his death. By this time, Mary Lincoln died. So Abe and Mary are disinterred from the labyrinth, where they're both put down there. They're moved into Memorial Hall in the tomb for viewing for the public. Lincoln's coffin, again, is reopened to identify it, and then it's resealed. Every time they reopen it, just to kind of make sure that he's in there, because there have been his coffin moved so many times, and all these different attempts on stealing the body and all that, they want to make sure that he was actually in it. Okay, 1887, Abe and Mary are carried around to the back of the base of the monument and into the lower catacombs, where they're lowered into a special vault that's made of brick and mortar into the floor, and then the vault is covered and the floor is replaced, and this would be done for visitation. So they figure if they're down underneath it and there's a memorial on top, no one will bother him. Okay, so they figured this is it in 1887, but this lasts for 2 years, and then in 1889 there's some structural instability to the tomb. The tomb itself is having some problems with the structure. That's due to uneven settling of the foundation, and it's determined that the whole structure would have to be completely rebuilt. So after going through all this, they decided the whole thing needs to be rebuilt. So they take the whole Lincoln family out of there. They take them all out, and they're moved again to the temporary vault in the hillside, and dug into the hillside, and then the monument is rebuilt. Okay, finally we'll go up to February 1901. The Lincoln family is moved in from the temporary vault. It's put back into the crypt of the tomb, which is partially rebuilt. It's not yet totally, entirely complete. Lincoln's body is placed in a crypt, while a more elaborate vault is built into the floor of the catacomb. Okay, September 26th, 1901 this is. Lincoln's coffin is removed from the crypt, taken around the base. It's placed inside Memorial Hall. One last time. The coffin was actually opened up 5 times to make sure that he was in it, but this is the last time it's opened up. His body is identified. Yes, indeed, there were about 26 people that witnessed this. The youngest was a 13-year-old boy that was taken out of school. His father called him and said, I want you to come out of school and see this. This is something that it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing for you to witness. They're opening up the coffin of the president, and it's witnessed by these people, and they say, yes, indeed, this is indeed the body of Abraham Lincoln, very identified, that was him. And he's placed inside a lead inner coffin. That is sealed, And then finally, hopefully, September 26th, his body is taken back around the monument into the catacomb. It's encased in a steel cage between tons of cement by the request of Robert Lincoln, Lincoln's only surviving son. Robert was kind of getting tired of all this moving and bouncing around and these kidnapping attempts and all this, and he wanted something done more permanent for his father's remains and his family not to be disturbed. So what they finally wound up doing is putting the coffin inside of a steel cage, and they encase it in tons of cement, and then it's buried, and that's where it's at permanently the way we see it now. His coffin itself was opened 5 times, first time being December 21st, 1865, September 19th, 1871, October 9th, 1874, April 14th, 1887, and then the final time, September 26th, 1901. 22 people viewed Lincoln's body when it was opened the last time in 1901. All positively identified it as being Lincoln. All have long since passed away. The last person was called Fleetwood Lindley. He was the one that was 13 years old. He died February 1st, 1963. And he was the only child to view it, and he was also the last person to look on the face of Abraham Lincoln. And he died in 1963. So that was the story of the travels of Abraham Lincoln. His poor body moved around just as much after death as it did during life. The poor man finally got in the rest, but then finally he did. Some facts here. I'm going to give you just some little facts about Lincoln's life and some stuff with that. Some about the Lincoln and Kennedy assassinations. Of course, we all know the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Some of the similarities between Lincoln and Kennedy, which are kind of uncanny, some coincidental, and some people say you can do anything you want with facts, but nonetheless, these are some of them. Both were elected to the House of Representatives. Both Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy were both elected to the House of Representatives. Both were elected to the presidency. They didn't inherit the presidency by, the death of a president and being the vice president. They're both elected to the office. Both vice presidents were Southern Democrats, both with the last name of Johnson, Andrew Johnson and Lyndon Baines Johnson. So both were from the South, both were named Johnson. Both presidents were concerned about the problems of black Americans. Of course, Abraham Lincoln with the Emancipation Proclamation referring to slaves, and President Kennedy very much with civil rights, of course, was concerned with that. Both were shot on a Friday. Both were in the presence of their wives when they were shot, and both Fridays preceded a major holiday. Kennedy's Friday preceded Thanksgiving, which would have been the following Thursday, and Lincoln was shot on Good Friday, so he preceded Easter. So both preceded a major holiday on the Friday that they were shot. Both were accompanied on their assassination by another couple. The Lincolns were accompanied to the theater by Clara Harris and Major Rathbone, a fiancé and young couple that they were accompanied with, and then the Governor Connolly and Mrs. Connolly of the governor of Texas were accompanying the Kennedys in the limousine. Both of the male companions of the other party that accompanied them were wounded in the assassination attempt. John Connolly, of course, being shot while Kennedy was shot, and Major Rathbone being slashed in the arm with a knife by Booth after Booth shot the president and then jumped over the balcony to try to make his escape. And then kind of a weird one here is Booth ran from a theater and into a warehouse. So John Wilkes Booth shot the president in a theater and then ran into a tobacco warehouse, and that's where he was caught and killed. And Oswald did just the opposite. Lee Harvey Oswald ran from a warehouse to a theater. So he was in the Texas Book Depository, which was a book warehouse, and he went into a movie theater. I think he was watching The Guns of Navarone. I think that was the movie he was watching. And they picked him up, Oswald, because he didn't pay the admission. He just walked in the theater, walked right past the ticket booth, and that was brought up to the attention of the manager. Had he not done that, he probably would have been a little more inconspicuous. Eventually, he would have been caught anyway, but that kind of brought attention to him, and then the question started. So that's how they caught Oswald. Both assassins had 15 letters in their names. Both assassins had 3 names: Lee Harvey Oswald, John Wilkes Booth. Both presidents had a son die during the presidency. Mrs. Kennedy had miscarried during the Kennedy's presidency, and then, of course, the Lincolns lost their son Willie to typhoid or whatever it was he died from when they were in the White House. Both were shot in the head. A mortal wound to the head killed him. Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy, and Kennedy had a secretary named Lincoln. Both of the secretaries warned them not to go. Lincoln's secretary warned him not to go to the theater. He didn't think it was right. Kennedy's secretary told him not to go. Kennedy had a secretary named Mrs. Lincoln, and she warned him. She says she didn't think it was good for him to go to Texas and to be in an open car. So it's just some of the freaky little things about the similarities between the Lincoln-Kennedy assassinations. Okay, and then just some Lincoln quotes. These are some things that Lincoln said. Lincoln was famous for his wit and wisdom. Some of the things he says, "You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today." Nice little Lincoln quote. "Best thing about the future is it comes one day at a time." I like that one. So you can deal with it one day at a time. Whatever you are, be a good one. These are all things that President Lincoln said. Better to remain silent and be thought of a fool rather than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. I like that one. So if you stay quiet and don't say anything, and people think you're a fool or you're goofy, it's better off than to speak and remove the doubt of it, and people know you are. Okay, those who deny the freedom to others don't deserve it for themselves. Okay, marriage is neither heaven or hell. It is simply purgatory. Lincoln's view on marriage tells you a little bit of what he felt about his marriage to Mary Todd there. Even though they were kind of a good couple, they kind of played off each other. Even though he had a lot to deal with Mary Todd and her insanity and some of the things going on with her in her life. Okay, when I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. And he said, that's my religion. Lincoln never actually joined an organized religion. He read his Bible every day, but he never belonged to an organized church, Presbyterian or Episcopalian or anything. He never actually joined an organized church, even in Springfield. He never joined an organized church. Mary, I'm sure, did with the boys when they were younger. She probably gave them a religious education and religious upbringing, but Lincoln, no. He did read his Bible, but never belonged to a church. Okay, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. And I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but that's what he said. Okay. And then he said, most folks are as happy as they make up their minds to be. So it's a mind over matter thing. You can make yourself happy, you can make yourself sad. Lincoln facts, some facts about our 16th president that were little known. Some of these I didn't know myself, and I thought I knew a lot about Lincoln. He was the only president to actually have a patent. He patented a device to free steamboats that ran aground, like on a sandbar or something. They got stuck on the river, and he had some sort of a device. I don't know what this was, but he patented a device to do this, to lift steamboats off the sandbars and get them rolling again, being unstuck in the water. He only had 18 months of formal schooling, and that would have been schooling in the frontier on the small little one-room schoolhouse type thing. That was the only formal schooling he ever had, only 18 months of that. He wanted women to have the right to vote in 1836. That was a progressive thinker. In 1836, he was for women's rights and for women to have the vote. That's actually before he even became president. He was a big animal lover. He did not hunt or fish. Now, that one I found a little hard to believe, because him living on the frontier, he would have done a lot of hunting and fishing just to survive for food. But they said he did not hunt or fish. He was not a hunter and he wasn't a fisherman. That wasn't his thing, but he was a big animal lover. He liked the animals. He was a wrestler. He did like wrestling. He took part in a lot of bouts, and he did win a lot of wrestling bouts. So he was very big on that, especially in his younger years. He was an unsuccessful vice presidential candidate in 1856, so he never became the vice president. He became president, but never a vice president. And I mentioned this one already. He never belonged to an organized church, but he read his Bible daily. He didn't drink, smoke, or chew, and he never drank in the White House. He didn't, even at state dinners and things, he didn't feel it was right, even to have a glass of wine, because he was the president, and he did not believe it was right for him to drink any alcohol in the White House. He didn't have a middle name. He went through his whole life with just 2 names. He hated being called Abe. He preferred Lincoln. Everybody that knew him, friends and people that knew him, all called him Lincoln or Mr. Lincoln. No one ever called him Abe. And then, of course, when he became president, it was Mr. President they called him. He established Thanksgiving as a national holiday. He was the first president born outside of the original 13 states. So the original 13 colonies, he was the first president born. He loved to eat oysters. That was one of his favorite foods. He liked that. Lincoln, he had a cat. His cat ate at the family dining table. When the family sat down to dinner, the cat sat right on a chair there with them and ate. He had a dog. His dog was named Fido, and his cat was named Tabby. Interesting. I never knew he had pets. His favorite food was fruit. He loved fresh fruit when he could get it, when it was in season. He was fond of chicken casserole. That was another one of his favorite dinner dishes. He loved chicken casserole. Lincoln was the first president to use the telegraph, and he used that very, very extensively, especially during the Civil War, to get news from the front and news of what was going on with the war. He used the telegraph very extensively. Lincoln's mother was killed by poisoned milk. We mentioned that one earlier. And then the other factor, in 1876, grave robbers tried to steal his body. We covered that one. His coffin was opened 5 times. We covered that one when we did that about his body being moved around so much. He was the first assassinated president. They actually thought a few years back, they were saying that Zachary Taylor may have been the first assassinated president. They think he may have been poisoned, but then it proved not. They actually did some testing on him through a piece of hair. They exhumed his body and did some testing off of a piece of hair, and they found out that no, he was not poisoned. So Lincoln was indeed the first assassinated president. Lincoln's suits were made by Brooks Brothers. I didn't know that Brooks Brothers was around in the 1860s when he was president. So Brooks Brothers is an older company than I thought, and they made all his suits for him. Lincoln battled depression for most of his life. Most of his life he did battle depression. Okay, I brought with me something too that's just a little piece of kind of historic interest here. I won't play this all the way through. It's about a 4-minute recording. This is a recording by an artist named Adelina Patti. And I think we've had her on there a couple times before. I know when I do my White House presentations, we play this. And Adelina Patti actually sang in the White House. She was a very famous opera star. And she sang when she was a teenager in the White House in the 1860s. She had been doing a North American tour, operatic engagements in different theaters and stuff in North America. Of course, this at that time would not have included any of the southern cities because the Civil War would have been raging down in the south. But she did appear in Washington, New York, Boston, and then went on up to Canada, North American tour in Canada and that, and then, of course, back to Europe and that. And while she was in North America, she stopped off at the White House and sang for the Lincolns. And she sang a song called Home Sweet Home. It's a very old, sentimental song, Home Sweet Home. And she sang this for the Lincolns when she was a teenager in the 1860s. I'm not sure what year it was. I think probably 1863 or so when she appeared there at the White House. And Patti made it into the recording era. She lived up until 1917. She died at age 77 years old. So she made it into the era of sound recordings. And we do have recordings of her voice. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this recording of Adelina Patti, who was this opera star that sang for the Lincolns. And you can hear her voice. Now, she made these records when she was in her 60s, so her voice was kind of past its prime. It wasn't what it was in younger days. So we'll just play a little bit of this so you can hear the voice of someone who sang for the Lincolns. Okie doke, that was the voice of Adelina Patti, one of the more famous bel canto operatic divas of the 19th century. She started her recording career as a teenager when she was very young, and like I said, that when she was a teenager, that's when she performed for the Lincolns. The recording you just listened to was, of course, Home Sweet Home, a very old Civil War era sentimental ballad. And she made these recordings when she was 60 years old in 1905. So her voice was kind of past its prime, but the Victor Record Company kind of persuaded her because they were trying to attract a lot of famous singers of the day and stuff like that to record only for Victor Records. So they paid Patti quite a lot of money to do these recordings, just to have her voice recorded. She was a little reluctant to do it at first because she knew her voice wasn't the best it had been. It wasn't. Her voice certainly wasn't what it was when she was a teenager. Not that she was in her 60s, but nonetheless, she made the recordings, and we do have something of her voice. And I just always thought that this was fascinating that we have a voice of someone that sang for the Lincolns in the White House, and we still have something of her voice preserved for that. So just a little piece of recorded history there. And incidentally, too, Patti does have some haunts to her voice, too. She lived, she was Sicilian by birth, but she lived in a very successful career all her life, made a tremendous amount of money through singing engagements, and this song, Home Sweet Home, kind of became a standard in her repertoire for all the rest of her life, because supposedly the Lincolns, she moved them to tears with her performance of it. They were kind of crying at the sentimentality and the beauty with which she sang the song. And she lived in a castle in Wales, and her spirit has been known to haunt that castle, the spirit of Adelina Patti. So she's somewhat of a little paranormal attachment to her, too. At one point, they were doing some filming in what was her home, this castle. It's called Craigennor. It's in Wales. And while they were filming things there and that, they were talking in the kitchen area of the house. They were talking about a role, Carmen. And that's a role in the opera that Patty never liked singing. It was just a little too fiery a role and too excited for her type of singing. She was a more sedate singer. She sang more ballads and that type of stuff, not in real fiery roles. And they said she got mad because they were talking about her not being able to perfect the role. And all of a sudden, pots and pans and dishes and things started flying off the shelves. So they knew it kind of angered her spirit there. So just a little bit about her, kind of a tie-in to the Lincolns there. Okay, that will be it for this evening's show. I want to thank my two young guests, Mr. Sean Parlin and Mr. Kyle Parlin. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on and playing You Bet Your Life. Thank you for being with us. And it's a school night. You got school. You're not off on Easter break this week, are you? No, you're not?
Well, Friday.
Oh, next week. So you got to go to school tomorrow. So we'll have to get you home so you can get to bed early. What time do you go to bed? About 1 in the morning?
No, 10.
10? Then that's for a 13-year-old. That's good. You too, Kyle? 10 o'clock for bed for you?
9.
9 for you. 9 for you, 10 for you. But I got a feeling neither one of you guys is in bed at 9 or 10. You're up with those
Nope.
video games. Yeah, I know how it works. I hear things.
On the weekends, we're up very late.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, Kyle, 5:30.
I hear things about you, so I know what's going on.
5:30.
Thank you guys for coming on. Folks, thank you so much for listening. It's always a joy doing these shows. April show next month, I'm not quite certain what we're going to do. Maybe something to do with Titanic, since Titanic sank in April, so maybe we'll do a little Titanic stuff there, and we'll see how that goes. John DeVita, thank you so much for allowing me to do these shows. Thank you to our wonderful producer, Mr. John Chikanda. I'm not sure if I'll be on next month before that, but next month I'm doing a speaking engagement. I will be over at the Ridgeview Library talking about H.H. Holmes and the Columbian Exposition. So April 23rd, if you're around the area of Ridgeview, stop by the library. I'll be there about 6:30 doing a talk over there. Thank you so much for listening, folks, and bye-bye. Have yourselves a wonderful evening, and we'll see you all next month. Thank you.
You have been listening to Paranormal Radio with Bob Tricek from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich. Paranormal Radio was directed by John DeVita. Our audio engineer is James Rohde. The executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network is Mr. John Chikanda, and radio station manager for WRHS FM Norwich is Kevin Zeflik. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Monday, March the 30th, the year 2015. Until next time, thanks for listening and be safe. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM, Norwich, Illinois.